Namaste all. Hello. This is Shanmukha Sreevatsa. Uh, I'll be giving you a short demo and information on the instrument that I play, violin. So as we heard earlier, me and my brother have played an Lotus Swara composed by Srimati Swami Dikshithar called Varasiva Balam. So this Varasiva Balam and the other set of Lotus Swarams that has been composed by Sri Swami Dikshithar have been inspired by European music, British music during the colonial period. And this particular Varasil Balam is an inspiration from the song called Castilian Maid, which is a Spanish folk song. So why I'm talking about Swami Dikshithar, Notu Swaram, etc., violin, etc. is violin is an European instrument which has been discovered, or this current form of the instrument, violin, is maybe around 16th century, and this is the current form that is being used still. And violin has a very strong connection to Sri Muthuswami Dikshithar's family, because Muthuswami Dikshithar's younger brother, Sri Balaswami Dikshithar, was the pioneer in bringing the violin, European instrument violin, to our Indian music. So this violin is in Indian music is primarily used as an accompanying instrument as well as a solo instrument. As we all know right now, a fact that in no Carnatic music concert is without a violin. So this has been such an integral part of our music right now because of some little interesting facts about the instrument, which we'll know later on in this video. So, I'll just talk about some history of the violin. But during it has been, the current form is maybe from 16th century or 17th century, and Balaswami Dikshithar around 200 years ago, approximately 200-250 years ago, it has been adopted into Carnatic music. And violin is not only used in South Indian music, Carnatic music, it is also used in Hindustani music, primarily as a solo instrument. So there have been great legends of the instrument who have explored the depths and breadths of the violin in North Indian music and South Indian music as well. So the violin primarily in Western music is played as a solo and also in orchestras. So what is an orchestra? So orchestra is a group of people who sit together and play the same composition. So as we heard earlier, we've played Varasiva Balam. So Varasiva Balam, it's an interesting composition because it is just a 4-line composition, but first two lines and the next two lines of the compositions are in harmony. That is, even if you play both the different lines together, it will sound really well. So that was what we also showed you earlier. So violin is also used as an instrument in orchestras, in symphonies. Primarily, this all happens in the western part of the Western world, Western music, and in Southern music or in Indian music, it is used as a solo instrument and primarily as an accompanying instrument, because of the fact that this instrument can replicate as closely as possible to any other instrument. No other instrument can replicate some other instrument, but violin can do that because of the uh, because the violin is a fretless instrument. So what are frets? Fret is a stick that is placed on the areas where we place our fingers. So as you primarily observe frets on veena, sitar, guitar, mandolin, etc. But violin and violin primarily is an fretless instrument. So some other fretless instrument is sarod, which is a North Indian instrument. But violin is a bowed instrument. So this is called a bow. Bow is nothing but a stick with hair. So this hair is primarily made of horse hair. So when the bow is drawn across the strings, so the hair and the strings, so the friction between the hair and the strings make the strings vibrate, and the sound is thus produced. So so any instrument is primarily physics involved in there, but in violin, so since this is fretless, our hands are the primary mode of sound production along with the bow. So bow is used to generate the sound, but our hands are used to change the frequencies of the sound. That is to play the swaras on the violin. So on a violin, there are generally 4 strings on a violin. So the pure modern discoveries of violin also have 5. Some also do have 7. Very rare cases have 7. And this is an acoustic violin. So there are newer inventions of violin. So you can say acoustic violin, electric violin, and a semi-acoustic violin. So this is an acoustic violin. This need not require any electricity or battery to produce sound. This is all physics and math and physics with which the sound actually produced. So when the string vibrates, there is a box here, a hollow box, through which the vibrations of the string resonate and come out through these holes called F holes. So there is something inside a violin called a sound post, which is also a very key integral part of the tone of the violin. So this is the box of the violin. This bottom part is called the scroll. This is called the neck. This is called the fingerboard. These are the strings, as we discussed. This is called the bridge. This is called the tailpiece. And this, whichever thing is there here, is called the chin rest. This chin rest is primarily used for resting our chin. So this is the position and the posture of violin primarily used again in Western musicians. We Indian violinists sit down, legs folded, crisscrossed, and we place our scroll down on our knee. So this is the posture in which we sit, and the Western artists usually stand and play. So yeah. So so coming to the tuning of the violin. So So there are names given to each string. So this leftmost string is called G, next is called D, next is A, next is E. G, D, A, E. So this naming of the strings is in accordance to the Western tuning of the violin. Since violin is a relatively newer invention for our music, we still follow many things that have been adopted from the Western classical practices. Even some conventions of the naming and all are still from the Western music, but the way we tune the violin, each string is significantly different from what it is tuned over there. So as we all know, Indian music, the Adharam is Shadjam, based on which Re, Ga, Ma, Rishabam, Gandharam, Madhyamam, Pancham, Daivatam, Nishadam are all subjective to the Shadjam. So whichever Shruti we naturally pick or we take consideration as, it is Adharam, Adhar Shruti, every other sound is subjective to the Shadjam. For example, in our music, if we say we want to sing it D or 2, 2 is our Sa, and accordingly we sing Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa accordingly. But in Western classical music, so there's no Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa for them. So that is why they everything for them is sound. So they tune this string to G scale, this string to D scale, this string to A scale, and this string to E scale. So their technique of tuning, their method of playing is quite different from what we do. What we do is we tune 2 strings to Sa and the other 2 strings to Pa on a 4-string violin. So primarily on a violin we can play 3 sthais: Mandra sthai, Madhya sthai, and Tara sthai. So Atitara sthai is also possible on this instrument, but as higher the octaves are, the lesser the distance between the notes. So on a violin, very comfortably, we can play 3 sthais: Mandra, Madhya, Tara. So I will just demonstrate you the Mandra, Madhya, Tara very briefly, and we can next discuss the next parts. So the Mandra sthai is played primarily on the G and D string, Madhya sthai on A and E string, and Tara sthai on the upper part of the E string. So this is Mandra sthai, this is Madhya sthai, this is Tara sthai. So we can also play the entire octave only on one string. This is also possible on the violin and other instruments as well. So violin is such an instrument which can bring out a lot of emotion and can connect to people's heart right away. So this is an instrument, as we already discussed, which can replicate the sound of any other instrument as close as possible. Not only instrument, it can also mimic a vocalist sound as close as possible, because this instrument is a fretless instrument. So as we were discussing, Mandra Madhyasthai, Tarasthai. So the there are this is the way to tune and play on a 4-string violin. So to tune a violin, we tune the G string to Sa, to the Mandra Sa, and the A string to Madhya Sa, and D string to Mandra Pa, and E string to Madhya Pa. 4 strings. So, and we use, now let us see the physical aspects of the violin. As we already discussed earlier, these are called pegs, these are called screws. So we tune the violin primarily using the 4 pegs and the 4 screws. So that is how we come to the other Shruti or the Shruti which we are in. So on a violin, Hamakam is quite seamless and very smoother to play, and these strings are made of these strings are primarily made of steel core, and these strings are of varied quality. Some people use oil, or some people use powder for smooth handling of the violin strings. So unlike the Veena strings or any other strings, these are relatively softer and does not cut our fingers as easily as the other instruments strings. So there have been legends of this instrument, like Sri M.S. Gopalakrishnan sir, Lal Gudi sir, Kanyakumari Amma, T.N. Krishnan sir, and so many other legendary violinists who have explored the depth and breadth of the instrument, have developed newer techniques of the instrument for us to practice and play. So as we already discussed, this is a very integral part of Carnatic music. No concert these days in the modern Carnatic music times, no other concert will happen without a violin, which is a very great thing, because it connects and replicates the sound very well. There have been newer inventions to the violin, the modern inventions to the violin, which are primarily towards the strings. So as we already discussed, strings we have G, D, A, E. So sometimes when a violinist has to accompany a male singer, the violin will have this C. The violinist has to tune his violin strings to C Shruti. So C is such a Shruti where the strings have very less tension, and when the strings are very loose with very less tension, the sound is very harsh and sometimes lower in volume. So there have been newer inventions where the strings are made specifically to Carnatic music, where even if you want to play C or where some uncomfortable Shrutis, the strings have higher tension. It is a violinist can play even in those scales very comfortably. So we have to be very open to the modern inventions of the violin, and that is how our lovely beautiful instrument will evolve and touch so many lives. So this instrument is also primarily used in. This is such an instrument which can be used in any genre of music, say film music, Carnatic music, folk music, any kind of music. So it is just the artist's uh, capability to demonstrate this instrument's scope. Thank you all.